So I want you to imagine a mother turkey for a second. She is fiercely protective, like completely ready to fight a predator to the absolute death.
Right, they're incredibly aggressive with predators.
Exactly. And if you put a stuffed polecat, which is, her natural enemy, anywhere near her, she will squawk, peck, and just claw it to pieces.
Oh, absolutely tear it apart.
But, and this is the crazy part, if you take that exact same stuffed polecat,
Yeah.
you hide a tiny little tape recorder inside it that plays the simple, like, cheep, cheep sound of a baby turkey, she doesn't just stop attacking.
No, it's wild. She actually pulls her worst enemy under her wing to nurse it.
Yes, she completely adopts it.
And, I mean, the second you turn that tape recorder off, she instantly realizes it's a polecat again and goes right back to tearing it to pieces. It is a completely blind, just mechanical reaction.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at how your brain is actually just as easily hacked as that mother turkey.
Sadly, yes, it really is.
Our mission today is to decode the hidden, automated psychological forces that basically make you say yes without even thinking about it. We're drawing from Robert Cialdini's seminal work, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion.
Such a classic.
It really is. And our sources today are just packed with controlled psychological experiments, real-world case studies, and undercover observations that reveal exactly how our decision-making gets totally hijacked.
It is the absolute definition of pulling back the curtain on human behavior. And to understand how this hacking works, you really have to understand what happened to that turkey.
Right.
Behavioral scientists, they call it a fixed action pattern. See, the turkey doesn't have the brain capacity to analyze every single visual, auditory, and, olfactory detail of the creature in front of her.
It takes too much brain power.
Exactly. So evolution basically gave her a shortcut. If it sounds like a baby, care for it. It's really like watching a computer execute an automatic macro.
Okay, let's unpack this because, we are humans.
Yeah.
We like to think we are, infinitely more sophisticated than turkeys.
We definitely like to think that, yeah.
Right. Like, we don't just blindly react to a single sound and abandon all logic, do we?
We absolutely do. Human automatism works in, well, very much the exact same way. Just think about the modern world you live in. It is complex, it's incredibly fast-paced, and we suffer from massive information overload on a daily basis.
Oh, for sure.
If you stopped to deeply analyze every single decision you made in a day, you would just freeze up in a state of constant analysis paralysis.
You'd never get out of bed.
Right. So to survive, our brains have developed their own mental shortcuts, our own click whir responses. Click, the tape is triggered, and whir, the automated behavior just plays out.
Okay, so what does a human cheep, cheep sound actually look like?
Oh.
Because I'm struggling to believe a single trigger can just override my critical thinking like that.
Well, let's look at a classic controlled experiment by the social psychologist Ellen Langer. She wanted to test how people respond to requests while they were waiting in line to use a library copy machine.
Okay, standard everyday situation.
Right. So in her first test, she approached the person at the front of the line and asked, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush?"
Okay.
And giving that real logical reason resulted in a 94% success rate. People let her cut in line.
Sure, that tracks. She's in a rush. It's a valid reason. People are generally empathetic,
Exactly. But in her second test, she gave no reason at all. She just said, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine?"
Let me guess, people said no.
Well, her success plummeted to 60%, which, again, is completely logical. But the third test is where the human shortcut is really exposed.
What did she do?
She asked, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make some copies?"
Wait, hold on. Because I have to make copies? That's not a reason.
Nope.
Literally everyone standing in that line has to make copies. That shouldn't work.
It provides absolutely zero new information. But her success rate shot right back up to 93%.
You are kidding.
I'm not. It was almost identical to when she had a legitimate reason, because in this context, the word "because" is our trigger sound.
The cheep, cheep.
Yes, it triggers an automatic, unthinking response in our brains that says, a reason was provided. I don't need to process the rest of the sentence. I should just comply. Click whir. The brain conserves its calories and moves on.
That is genuinely unsettling. Because while these mental shortcuts are necessary for our brains to, save energy, there are entire industries filled with people who know exactly how to play our tapes.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources refer to them as compliance professionals, the master salespeople, the marketers, the negotiators. They study these triggers.
Yep.
And that brings us to the first major psychological weapon they use against us, which is the rule of reciprocity.
Reciprocity is huge. It's basically a cornerstone of human civilization. Anthropologists will tell you that it is a unique human mechanism that allowed our ancestors to share resources, knowing they wouldn't be exploited.
Right, like I'll give you food today if you help me hunt tomorrow.
Right. Exactly. Human societies literally survive on a web of debt. We are utterly terrified of being seen by our peers as freeloaders or moochers. The social penalty for not returning a favor is huge.
Which brings up the Joe and the Coke experiment by psychologist Dennis Regan. Let me just lay this out for you. So a subject is evaluating art with a guy named Joe, who is secretly the researcher's assistant.
Right, he's in on it.
Yeah. And during a quick break, Joe leaves the room and comes back with two 10-cent bottles of Coca-Cola. He hands one to the subject and casually says, like, I bought one for myself, so I got one for you too.
Seems innocent enough.
Very innocent. But later on, Joe asks the subject for a favor. He says he's selling raffle tickets for 25 cents each to win a prize.
And the math here is just staggering. Subjects who received that unasked for 10-cent Coke bought twice as many raffle tickets as subjects who received nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, Joe got a massive 500% return on his investment. And here's the most important part. It didn't even matter if the subjects actually liked Joe or not.
Wait, really?
Really, the feeling of obligation completely wiped out their personal feelings toward him.
And compliance professionals absolutely weaponize this feeling of obligation to build deep brand loyalty. I mean, the text details a marketing strategy called the Amway bug.
Oh, the bug. That's a classic.
It's brilliant in a dark way. It's a custom-designed tray of free household products, detergent, window cleaner, a sponge. A salesperson leaves it at a customer's home for a few days, totally free, no obligation, just a friendly free trial.
Just trying to be helpful.
Right. And think about how modern software companies do this today. They give you the premium app for free for 30 days. You upload all your data. You get comfortable. It feels like a gift.
It does.
But the moment you use a single squirt of that physical window cleaner or, rely on that app, a psychological web of debt wraps around you. When the salesperson returns, you feel a deep, almost painful internal obligation to buy something.
Because you didn't ask for the initial gift. But the rule of reciprocity, it doesn't care. It forces the debt onto you anyway, and you will spend money just to relieve the psychological pressure of owing someone.
But the pressure isn't always from a physical gift, right? Like sometimes the gift is just a negotiation tactic.
Yes.
The sources outline this scenario called Rejection, then Retreat. The author is walking down the street, and a Boy Scout stops him, asking him to buy tickets to the annual Boy Scout circus for $5 each.
Which is a decent amount for a kid to ask for on the street.
Yeah. And the author doesn't want to go, so he declines. Then the scout says, well, if you don't want to buy tickets, how about buying some of our big chocolate bars? They're only $1 each.
A very natural pivot.
Right. So the author buys a couple of bars and walks away down $2.
Which seems perfectly normal until you dissect the underlying mechanics of what just happened.
Right. Because as the author points out, he absolutely hates chocolate.
He doesn't even like it.
No. And he loves his dollars. He had zero desire for the product. So why did he buy it? Why didn't he just say no to the chocolate too?
Because of reciprocal concession. The scout made a concession. He retreated from a big $5 request to a small $1 request.
And that felt like a favor.
Exactly. To the author's brain, this retreat felt like a compromise. And because of the rule of reciprocity, the author felt an overpowering evolutionary urge to meet him halfway, to make a concession of his own.
So we move from non-compliance to compliance.
Yep. Plus, you have the principle of perceptual contrast at play here. After your brain processes a $5 request, a $1 request looks incredibly small.
So reciprocity tracks us from the outside, using social pressure. But what about when we trap ourselves from the inside? Because once we make a choice or take a stand, we face immense internal pressure to behave consistently with that commitment.
Oh, commitment and consistency. This is huge.
There's this fascinating observation in the sources about bettors at a racetrack. Just 30 seconds before they put their money down at the window, they are hesitant, stressed, unsure.
Sweating bullets.
Yeah. But the moment they hand over their cash and get the ticket in their hand, their confidence in their horse just skyrockets. The horse hasn't run any faster. The track conditions haven't changed, but their commitment has.
Yes. Consistency is our brain's way of avoiding the hard, calorie-burning work of constantly reevaluating our decisions. Once we make a choice, we just click whir into consistency mode.
Just lock in.
We build a fortress of rationalizations to protect our choice so we don't have to think about it anymore.
But how does a salesperson actually exploit that? Because the book talks about the lowball tactic used by car dealers.
Oh, this one is ruthless.
Right. The dealer offers a car at an incredibly low price, maybe $400 below competitors. The customer is thrilled, they sign the initial forms, take it for a spin.
They start falling in love with it.
Exactly. Then suddenly there's a calculation error. The manager says the air conditioning wasn't included, the discount is suddenly revoked.
Oops.
Wait, hold on. I have to ask. If a dealer pulled a $400 discount on me at the last second, I would be furious. Wouldn't the customer just get angry and walk out?
Logically, yes, they should. But overwhelmingly, they don't.
Why?
Because in the hour between the initial offer and the revoked discount, the commitment grew its own legs. The dealer gave the customer time to build their own internal justification.
Oh, wow.
While driving the car, the customer thought, well, it gets great mileage, the color matches my style, it fits my monthly budget. By the time the dealer kicks away the original pillar, the cheap price, the roof doesn't cave in.
Because they built new pillars.
Exactly. The customer built 5 new support beams out of their own rationalizations. They are committed to the idea of the car now.
That is just devious. They make you convince yourself.
They really do.
Now, if we take these individual tactics and combine them, we get to look at what is basically a masterclass in psychological manipulation. A scenario where multiple triggers feed into each other to create an overwhelming urge to buy. The Tupperware party.
It really is the ultimate layered campaign.
Exactly. You've got reciprocity right out of the gate. Games are played, prizes are won. Before anyone is even asked to buy a single plastic bowl, everyone has received a small gift.
The web of debt is cast.
Right. Then you have commitment guests are encouraged to publicly describe how much they love the Tupperware they already own right in front of the group.
And as the buying finally begins, we see the integration of the third principle, which is social proof. The buying creates this frenzy.
But why does social proof work so well?
Evolutionarily, if everyone in your tribe suddenly starts running, you don't stop to ask why. You run too. Otherwise, you get eaten by a lion.
Fair point.
In uncertainty, we assume the crowd has information that we don't. If all these other people at the party are buying, it must be a great product.
It's the exact same psychological glitch that makes TV sitcoms use canned laughter. I mean, we actively know the last track is fake, but it still automatically triggers us to laugh longer and harder.
It works every time.
Or think about modern influencer marketing, or, nightclub owners creating fake lines outside their doors even when the club is totally empty inside. It simulates demand.
Precisely. We use the actions of others as a shortcut to decide what is correct.
Right.
But the Tupperware party goes one step further. It layers on the principle of liking.
Right.
The person profiting from the sales isn't a faceless corporation or some stranger. It's the party host who sits right there in the room, smiling, pouring your tea. Every guest knows the host gets a cut.
Oh, that is so tough to resist.
The emotional bond of friendship traps the buyer. You aren't saying no to a salesperson, you are saying no to a friend.
Which is incredibly hard to do. And, have you ever had a salesperson miraculously have the same niche hobby as you?
All the time.
Because the sources show how professionals artificially manufacture this emotional connection when a real friend isn't available. What's fascinating here is that car salesmen are literally trained to check the trunk of your trade-in vehicle.
That is so sneaky.
It is. If they see camping gear, they will casually mention later that they just love escaping to the woods on weekends. If they see golf clubs, they talk about their handicap. Similarity builds liking, and liking builds compliance.
We are just desperate to say yes to people we know, like, and relate to. It drops our defensive barriers completely.
So they've made us indebted to them. They've shown everyone else is doing it. They've made us like them. What actually closes the deal?
Well, this brings us to authority and scarcity.
Authority is wild to me because we are so conditioned to obey it from childhood that we don't even need the real thing. We just need the illusion of it. There is this bizarre example in the sources of an old TV ad for Sanka decaffeinated coffee.
Oh, Robert Young.
Yes. It starred the actor Robert Young. Now, he was famous for playing the beloved TV doctor Marcus Welby. In the ad, he literally gives medical advice to the audience to stop drinking caffeine and switch to Sanka. And it was a massive success.
It perfectly highlights our vulnerability. We react to the symbols of authority, a lab coat, a fancy title, a luxury car, rather than actual substance.
Even when we know they're an actor.
Exactly. We trust experts because, again, it saves us from doing the heavy lifting of thinking for ourselves. If a doctor says it, even a fake doctor on TV, it must be true. Click whir.
Click whir.
But the most masterful use of authority is when it's combined with the perception of absolute honesty. There's a case study about a waiter named Vincent.
Oh, Vincent.
Right.
Vincent is terrifyingly good at his job. When a large group sits at Vincent's table, he takes the order of the first person, pauses, looks over his shoulder as if checking for the manager, and whispers, "You know, that dish isn't as good tonight as it normally is. Might I suggest this other dish?"
Clap.
And he points to an item that is actually cheaper than what they originally ordered. Now, wait, I have to push back here. He's intentionally trashing his own restaurant's food. Isn't that a massive risk?
It seems like it.
Right. What if the customer complains to the manager? He's acting against his own financial interest by suggesting a cheaper dish.
It's a highly calculated risk, and the psychological payoff is just massive. In one brilliant move, Vincent establishes himself as an authority on the kitchen's current quality.
He knows what's going on back there.
Exactly. And more importantly, he proves he is entirely trustworthy because he is literally sacrificing his own tip to help the customer. He creates this illusion that he is an insider working for them.
Oh, wow.
Once he has their absolute unquestioning trust, he leverages it. Later in the meal, he says, "Would you like me to recommend a wine to go with your meals?" And of course, they say yes. They trust him completely.
And let me guess, it's not the cheapest wine.
Not at all. He recommends an incredibly expensive vintage. They don't even question it. His final tip ends up being astronomical. Trust is the ultimate lubricant for compliance.
That is just next-level manipulation. And finally, the ultimate closer. Scarcity, the concept that we value things more when they're less available.
Right.
The sources mention Florida State students who historically hated their terrible cafeteria food. Suddenly, they rated it as highly desirable. Why? Because a fire had closed the cafeteria down.
Typical.
The food didn't change, the recipe was exactly the same, but its availability did.
Because we constantly use availability as a shortcut for quality. If something is rare, our shortcut assumes it must be valuable.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. It's not just about things being rare, it's about the process of becoming rare. The researcher Stephen Warchel did a cookie experiment.
This is a great study.
He had a jar with 10 cookies and a jar with 2 cookies.
Uh-huh.
Participants obviously rated the 2 cookies as more desirable. But then he added a twist. He started a subject with a jar of 10 cookies, and right in front of them, he took 8 away, leaving only 2.
Just snatch them away.
Yep. And those cookies were rated significantly higher than the cookies that were just scarce from the very beginning.
Because that sudden drop from 10 to 2, it triggers an evolutionary panic. It's not just rarity, it's a loss of freedom.
A loss of freedom.
Yeah. According to psychological reactance theory, whenever our freedoms or choices are restricted or threatened, we experience a strong physical and emotional drive to regain them. When a choice is taken away, we want it desperately.
It's like telling a toddler they can't play with a specific toy. Suddenly it's the only toy they want.
Exactly. Furthermore, Warchel found that scarcity is most powerful when it's combined with competition. If participants were told the 8 cookies had to be taken away because other participants needed them, the desire went through the roof.
You see this constantly online today. You go to book a hotel room, and there's glaring red text that says, "Only 1 room left at this price. 4 other people are looking at this right now."
They know exactly what they're doing.
Real estate agents use this all the time, too. They invent a phantom second buyer. A rich out-of-town investor who is supposedly coming back tomorrow to make an offer. Suddenly, a hesitant buyer is thrown into an emotional bidding frenzy. They aren't just rationally buying a house anymore. They are defeating a rival.
Exactly. The rational brain shuts down entirely, and the competitive, scarcity-driven brain just takes over.
Okay, so knowing all this, let's practically apply it. If you were to draft a daily schedule for a master salesperson using these exact sources like a daily playbook for extracting yes from people, what does that actually look like step by step?
All right, let's map out the perfect automated compliance day.
Lay it on me.
You start with a small gift or favor. You buy the client a coffee, or you offer a free, no-obligation inspection of their home. You trigger reciprocity to build an unpaid emotional debt right out of the gate. Sneaky. Okay, what about midday?
Midday. You secure a small written agreement, You don't fill out the initial sales forms yourself. You hand the pen to the customer and have them physically fill it out themselves. This locks in commitment and consistency. They are now actively participating in the narrative.
Wow. Okay. Afternoon?
Afternoon. You point out how many other people in their specific neighborhood are buying this exact model that's social proof. And during small talk, you mirror their body language or heavily emphasize a shared hobby to create an emotional bond that's liking.
So you're their best friend who just happens to be selling what everyone else is buying.
Exactly. And then evening, the close. They are wavering on the final price. You look at your watch and casually mention that stock is running low or that another buyer is waiting in the lobby to see this exact product. You deploy scarcity and competition to shut down their lingering rational thoughts and force the immediate close.
That is a terrifyingly effective day.
It works like a charm. So, for you listening to this, how do you protect yourself? Are we just doomed to be walking ATM machines for compliance professionals? How do we build consumer defenses against our own biology?
It requires immense vigilance because, frankly, we are fighting millions of years of evolution, but you can catch the triggers if you know where to look.
Okay, let's go through them. Consistency.
Against consistency, listen to your stomach signs. When you feel that tightening in your gut because you realize you're being trapped by your own previous words or actions, stop. Ask your heart of hearts. Knowing what I know now, if I could go back in time, would I make this exact same choice again? If the answer is no, walk away immediately.
Okay, what about reciprocity? The free gifts.
Against reciprocity, you have to mentally redefine the situation. When that friendly, free fire safety inspection pivots into a high-pressure $5,000 alarm pitch, you must consciously redefine the free gift not as a favor but as a sales device. You do not owe a social favor to a calculated sales tactic. You are free to say no without any guilt.
That's powerful. And social proof.
Against social proof. Aggressively push back on fake evidence. Turn off the autopilot when you spot unscripted interviews on TV that are clearly using actors, or when a website tells you 50 people are buying right now. Just recognize that the crowd is very often wrong.
And what about scarcity? Because that one feels the most visceral to me. When I see only one left in stock, my heart rate literally goes up.
Scarcity is the hardest one to fight because the emotional response is deeply, deeply physical. But you must mentally separate the joy of possessing a rare item from the joy of using it.
Say more about that.
Remember Wurzel's experiment? The scarce cookies were rated as much more desirable to own, but when asked about the actual taste, participants admitted they didn't taste any better than the abundant cookies. Scarcity makes us want it. It doesn't make the product functionally better.
The scarce cookies didn't actually taste any better. I need to cross-stitch that onto a pillow. To summarize all of this, as our world gets more complex, more digital, and just more overloaded with information, we are going to rely on these click-whir shortcuts even more. We simply do not have the time or energy to analyze every single decision. And that makes us prime, automated targets for compliance professionals who know exactly how to trigger our tapes.
Which raises an incredibly important question, actually.
What's that?
Well, if our own brains are wired to actively seek out these shortcuts to save mental energy, are we sometimes secretly hoping to be manipulated?
Really?
Just think about it. Sometime, handing over the reins to an authority figure or just blindly following the crowd is so much easier than doing the exhausting work of making a difficult, stressful decision ourselves.
Oh, that is a provocative thought. Are we secretly complicit in our own manipulation because we are just too tired to think? That is definitely something for you to mull over the next time you find yourself automatically nodding along to a pitch. Thank you for joining this deep dive. We highly encourage you to watch out for those hidden triggers in your daily lives, because the next time a salesperson starts sounding really convincing, you might just want to pause and listen closely to see if you can hear a faint cheep in the background.